I may have found one of the best true petty revenge stories of all of Hollywood. We'll talk all about it on this week's episode of The Internet Says It's True. Hey, welcome back to The Internet Says It's True, where every week we learn something that sounds made up but is really true. Part of the WCBE podcast experience. My name's Michael Kent. Hey, what's up? This is episode 163, a story I've had on my list to talk about for quite a while, and one that you may have never heard. First off, we've got a couple new Tizitors. By the way, I'm starting to hate the name Tizitors. If you've got a better name for the fun club of patrons of this podcast, send it in. Let me know. I need a better name. But anyway, thank you to Chuck M. and to Sarah L. for signing up. You'll be getting some fun stuff in the mail. And by fun stuff, I mean stickers. Sorry if that ruins the surprise. You can join Patreon at patreon.com/Michael Kent, and you can join at any monthly level, as little as $1 a month, just to show your support. It's greatly appreciated. Once again, that's patreon.com/Michael Kent.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
I also have a fun piece of mail from a fan. This is from a user going by VixMix. Sent in to me. It says, quote, "Stick to the subject advertised. I am not interested in the yap with you and your friend. I will not be listening to The Internet Says It's True." End quote. VixMix, sorry you didn't like the show, but I do want you to know I'm listening. So, in your honor, I'll be renaming the guest segment of the show to Yap with Me and a Friend. So, keep sending in those comments, folks. I really do appreciate it. I really do mean it. I love hearing from people. So let's get on with it.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
This week's story is ongoing, but it's been ongoing since 1990. This episode is a story about petty revenge, and I love petty revenge stories. In fact, I recently told one on my TikTok, and it got picked up by a bunch of people who added their own stories to it and was put into a bunch of compilations. It's something I did a few years ago, and you may have heard me tell this story. When I was in college at Ohio State, I used to make the drive to Ohio University a lot. It's about 90 minutes away from Columbus, so a lot of the time I would go and find somewhere to spend the night. And my friend and I went down there once, found a place to crash, but in the morning found that my car had been towed. It cost me $70 to get the car back, plus, I had to bum a ride all the way outside of town to go get the car. Well, something like 20 years later, that same tow truck company hired me for a magic show for their Christmas party down in Athens, Ohio, and I took the gig, but I tacked on an extra $70 to the fee. So that's the kind of petty revenge we're talking about here. I found some other good stories online that people sent in to talk about their petty revenge. This one was from a user named Miss Melonpan. Melonpan. I think Nick and I talked about Melonpan on last week's show. Anyway, she says, quote, "My husband plays games on his phone instead of helping around the house and with his kids. This is after years of me asking nicely and begging. We now use a router that I bought. I throttled the speed for his phone only." End quote. That's a pretty good one. Here's another marital one from Nina Carlson. "When I first got married, my husband would leave his boxers on the bathroom floor every single night. After asking, begging, and threatening violence to get him to put his boxers in the laundry basket, I just got sick of it and started wrapping his dirty drawers around his pillow every time he left them on the floor. I haven't seen boxers on the floor for 19 years now." And here's a great one from Timonia's 1030. "In Atlantic City, we were woken at 4 a.m. by a next-door neighbor, a loud and belligerent bachelorette party. Despite calling down twice and going over there to ask them to keep it down, they ignored the knock and giggled, shushing each other. We figured we were up, so we might as well head home. We left behind a 7:30 a.m. alarm set up on maximum volume." Okay, that one's pretty devilish. As someone who stays in a lot of hotels, that's about the worst, especially if they were up all night. Anyway, in my opinion, Warren Beatty has all of these people beat, and it all has to do with his portrayal of Dick Tracy.
Tracy drives you crazy, doesn't he?
All right, that's enough. I want Tracy dead!
Tracy?
Dick Tracy was a comic strip character created by Chester Gould, first published in 1931. The character was loosely based on federal agent Elliot Ness and would follow his exploits taking out a whole host of bad guys. The comic strip evolved into comic books and even a radio show that started running in 1935. There were eventually a few Dick Tracy films, one in 1945, then 46 and 47. Several television series and TV cartoons followed. But to people these days, the most notable depiction of Dick Tracy was in the feature film starring Warren Beatty 33 years ago. Dick Tracy, directed by, produced, and starring Warren Beatty, opened on June 14th of 1990 and did $162.7 million in the box office, the 9th highest grossing film of the year. It was produced with a budget of $46 million and was notable for its elaborate makeup and cartoon-like colors and costumes with lots of facial prosthetics, not to mention an amazing star-studded cast including Madonna, Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, James Caan, Catherine O'Hara, Dick Van Dyke, and a whole bunch of other household names. Danny Elfman did the soundtrack, and it was released by Disney, Silver Screen Partners, and Touchstone Pictures. Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars, saying, quote, "Dick Tracy is one of the most original and visionary fantasies I've seen on a screen," end quote. Most of the reception was good, but the Washington Post panned the film. Their critic Desson Thompson said, quote, "Dick Tracy is Hollywood's annual celebration of everything that's wrong with Hollywood," end quote, and said Beatty was too old for the part of Tracy at the age of 52. The film was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, tied with Black Panther for the most nominations for a comic book movie. Warren Beatty was pretty notable in Hollywood for being a quadruple threat: actor, writer, producer, and director. He did that on Heaven Can Wait in 1978 and Reds in 1981. He won dozens of awards for his work. According to IMDb, he's been nominated 15 times by the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, and 8 films he's produced have earned 53 Academy nominations. Not only that, you know the Carly Simon song, "You're So Vain"? Yeah, that's about Warren Beatty. So, there you go. He made a ton of money with his 1967 film Bonnie and Clyde, which cost $2.5 million to make and netted Beatty something like $28 million just for himself because he negotiated that he would get 40% of the box office. The idea of Warren Beatty taking on Dick Tracy was an idea that came from one of his friends. At first he was reluctant, but then he loved the idea. Here's Beatty explaining why the Dick Tracy comic was so different.
Dick Tracy is the great old American comic strip. You know, it was the first comic strip that wasn't funny. Dick Tracy was the first one that had violence and bad guys and good guys, and it wasn't just looking for laughs. There were 2 little cartoon pictures that I saw the moment I decided to do it. One was Dick Tracy just hit a guy and he knocked his hat off. And the caption said, "Take that, you cockroach." And the other one had Tess Trueheart standing with her hands on her hips saying, "Dick Tracy, are you asking me to marry you?" And when I looked at those 2 things, I thought, I got to make a movie of this. This could be fun.
So much fun, in fact, that after the release and success of the film, he wanted to do it again. Beatty hoped that Dick Tracy would become a franchise for him like Indiana Jones was for Harrison Ford. He envisioned a whole slew of Dick Tracy follow-up movies. Now, Beatty himself owned the rights to the Dick Tracy character for television and film, but Disney said no to the follow-up. They had no interest in continuing the Dick Tracy franchise with Beatty. And that's the origin story for one of the weirdest petty revenge stories in Hollywood. We'll talk about it after a quick break. If you love listening to this podcast every week and you want to show your support, that would mean a great deal to me. You can do that by becoming a Patreon member. We've got members at all levels, whether you want to pledge $1 a month or $10 a month. Just think about the value that you receive from this show. And if you like the histories and the stories that you learn about or the jokes that you hear, and if you think that they're worth it, consider signing up. For that, you get every episode ad-free and a week early, access to bonuses like the unedited videos of the guest appearances, and 20% off all merchandise. You can sign up today at patreon.com/Michael Kent. That's patreon.com/Michael Kent.
We're living through the most dynamic time in human history, and what we do as leaders matter. We are the ones that create the leverage to shift directions of our companies, our nonprofits, and our communities. As a leader or an emerging leader, please join me for a dynamic conversation with top thought leaders, academics, and executives to learn more about how to elevate your leadership. I'm Maureen Metcalf. Join us at the WCBE podcast experience at wcbe.org.
There was a time that humans used 100% organic products as healing balms and moisturizers for their skin. Well, I've partnered with an awesome company that wants to get back to those times. Fatco sells organic and responsibly made tallow-based skincare products. For centuries, humans used tallow in skin moisturizers and healing balms, but unfortunately, the topical application of these fats seemed to stop around the same time that animal fats stopped being considered part of a healthy diet. A lot of modern skincare products do more harm than good by stripping your skin of its natural oils. Let's change that. You can try them out now at fatco.com and get 15% off your order by using my promo code INTERNET. Go to theinternetsaysitstrue.com/deals for the link.
Hi, this is Sue Foley, and inviting you to listen to Music Journeys. Here, local and national artists share how the love of music began and what inspired their latest project. Mike Foley blends it all together with some music. Now, you can't believe him if he says he's related to me and inherited my musical talent, but you can be sure that other Foley will deliver a worthwhile listening experience too. Listen to Music Journeys Saturday mornings at 11:30 on WCBE and in the podcast experience at WCBE.org.
Warren Beatty had purchased the television and film rights to the Dick Tracy character in 1985 from Tribune Media Services. Well, after the Dick Tracy film in 1990, Beatty had plans for a sequel, wanting the thing to turn into a franchise of films, but nobody wanted to work with him on it. Disney, who had optioned the original film, said no. Years went by without another Dick Tracy project, until 2002, when Tribune Media Services tried to regain the rights to the character and take it to Disney without Warren Beatty. The whole thing got turned into a messy legal battle, which, quote, clouded the title, end quote, and ownership of the rights, and according to Beatty, made it impossible to make any sort of Dick Tracy project in the future. He tried to settle with Tribune in 2004, but they wouldn't agree. In 2005, Disney gave most of the rights back to Beatty because they didn't think Tribune's claim held up. Meanwhile, Tribune was moving forward on a live-action television series with the character. Beatty sued Tribune Media for $30 million and an official declaration that he had the rights. What happened then was a few years of incredibly complicated legal battles back and forth, and I won't get into all that here because what I'm interested in is the result, and frankly, reading it made my head spin. First of all, after 4 years of court cases, Tribune Media went bankrupt, but in the final ruling by a judge, Beatty could retain the TV and film rights to Dick Tracy as long as he produced some sort of film or television project every so often using the character. In other words, he couldn't just squat on it and do nothing with those rights. And that's how we got to where we are now. Warren Beatty is now 86 years old, and he's still appearing as Dick Tracy, but most people have never seen it. That's because every 14 years or so, Beatty puts on the iconic pastel yellow trench coat and hat to do a bizarre appearance as Dick Tracy. It's usually aired late at night on TV in an interview format, and it's purely done so Beatty can keep the legal rights to the character. He's 86. He's not really going to make another Dick Tracy movie. He's always teased the idea of doing so, but what he's really doing is his damnedest to ensure no one else will ever make a Dick Tracy film. So he's essentially hoarding the character for himself in a decades-long trolling job. In 2009, Turner Classic Movies aired the Dick Tracy special. They showed the 1990 film and had film critic Leonard Maltin talk with Beatty, who was in character as Dick Tracy. I watched it, and it's really strange. Keep in mind, this is Leonard Maltin interviewing Dick Tracy, being played by Warren Beatty. Beatty's in character here as Tracy talking about Warren Beatty.
Now, both Ralph Byrd and Morgan Conway are no longer with us, but I've heard that Beatty is interested in making another movie about you.
Beatty making another movie about me. Yes, I've heard that.
If he did do another movie about me, that would be something that would cause me to take off my hat. To him, to Beatty. If he made another movie about me, I would take off my hat to him. Or I would tip it at least, but he might give you a better answer on that. I think you should do an interview with Mr. Beatty. I know he pretends he's not interested in self-promotion, but I'd say there's a pretty big body of evidence as to his guilt in this area.
The whole thing is just super bizarre and really low budget. Then, 14 years later, in 2023, we get another obscure Dick Tracy appearance. At the age of 86, Beatty appeared in Dick Tracy Zooms In, which was another thing similar to the Dick Tracy special. This was a half-hour television program aired in the middle of the night. It featured interviews with both Warren Beatty and Warren Beatty as Dick Tracy, talking with Ben Mankiewicz and Leonard Maltin. And Beatty looks old. He looks tired. And the whole thing with Dick Tracy happens over Zoom, while the interview segments with Beatty as himself are filmed in studio. At one point, they've got Dick Tracy as a picture-in-picture doing commentary on the 1990 film, and he's just saying stuff like, no, that's not good. Check this out.
Sam, get these fingerprinted.
That's up an inch.
No,
This is good. This is good. This is fine. And this is fine, too. This is good. And nice. That's good.
There's the phone.
That's... No. Well, this is, I
At one point, the camera actually shows Mankiewicz and Maltin looking at each other confused. It's pretty hard to watch. There are jump cuts in the Dick Tracy portion showing that it took some editing work to make it actually happen and make it make sense. And even then, it comes off as just bizarre. It's worth Googling Dick Tracy Zooms In. It's pretty bad, but it's not meant to be good. And that is why this is so brilliant. One Twitter user called it a, quote, Andy Kaufman level trolling job. He's not doing these TV appearances to make a good product. He's only doing it to say F you to anyone like Tribune who wants the rights to the character. He's also keeping it from being public domain. It's sort of revenge. What he's doing is essentially squatting on the intellectual property. And whether or not you agree with what he's doing, it's pretty crazy to see this octogenarian on TV reliving a 1930s character he played in a film 33 years ago. It's a crazy story of petty revenge, and the internet says it's true. It's time for Yap Yap with me and a friend. And this week, we're talking to my friend Glen Tickle. Glen's a comedian. You may have heard Glen on Dry Bar Comedy, Travel Channel, Cozy TV, Sirius XM. He's got a new special out. And I'm really excited that you were able to join me today, Glen. What's up, man?
Thank you for having me. I was just having a spa day with my 5-year-old. So if anybody's watching the video and feels I look particularly glamorous, that is why.
You're wearing a necklace and you've got beautiful pink nails.
Yeah, I don't know if the glitter eyeshadow is coming through.
No, it's not.
On the feed.
I was going to notice that your eyes. I was going to say your eyes look great, but I didn't know why.
That's probably why.
Yeah. Do you
have
get
lip gloss on too?
I don't know if you saw my Facebook this week, but do you get the Yap Yap with me and a friend reference?
I did.
Yeah. So that's what we're calling it now, just because I don't get enough feedback from listeners, and when I do get feedback, I want people to know that I take it seriously. So that's what we're going to call this segment.
I mean, I love nothing more than being petty about negative feedback. I'm on board.
This is great. So let's move on, and then I want to catch up a little bit and talk about what you've been up to. But for this first question, we're going to play for a joke, as we always do. So if you get it wrong, you got to tell me a joke. If you get it right, I'll tell you one. Here is the question. Warren Beatty showed up as Dick Tracy for television interviews in 2010 and 2023. The question is why? A, to maintain rights to the character. B, to promote new Dick Tracy TV series. Or C, to celebrate law enforcement.
It's A. I know this one. I love it. It's my favorite. Not time of year, I guess time of decade, where Warren Beatty just because it's to keep the rights to the character, he has to keep using it. Otherwise, he loses the rights. And I don't know if they go public domain or if they go back to somebody else. But he just every couple of years just spits out a weird Turner Classic Movie special where this time he was interviewing himself.
Yeah.
In character, and also he's like, I think it was a Zoom call, so it's him as Dick Tracy, also him as Warren Beatty, and one of the weirdest CMOs. It was bananas,
and that's why I was glad you just brought up pettiness, because it really is a decades-long petty revenge story by Warren Beatty. I guess the story is, and I had difficulty answering the question that you just asked, which is what happens if he doesn't have it? Does it go into public domain? Because the group that he fought with for the rights who originally had the rights, went bankrupt. So which was Tribune Media. They don't have the rights anymore. They were the ones that were claiming to Disney that they had the rights, and they were in the works to put on a TV show without Beatty. So yeah, it's the one in 2010 is weird, but the one in 2023, which was Dick Tracy Zooms In, it's only 20. You can find it on YouTube. It's 27 minutes long, and it is bizarre.
It is like the legal minimum. He's like, look, I used the character. Like, you did, I guess.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know what happens if he gives it up. And I know what doesn't happen is someone else makes a Dick Tracy movie. That's not going to happen.
I don't know.
It's wild because I remember that movie as a child because that was 89 was Batman, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're doing comic books now."
Yeah,
Warren, what do you got? And he's like, Dick Tracy, and they're like, "Really?
Really? That's the one?"
Like, no, we mean like one kids are gonna want to see. He's like, no, trust me, they're gonna love it.
Trust me, I'm gonna get Pacino. It's gonna be great.
I did for sure, but I believe I'm in the minority.
I did too, and I don't know why, but in my head, it always gets melded with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Did those come out in a similar, like on the same year or similar time?
I forget what year Roger Rabbit was, but I mean, similar like cartoonish version of a 40s setting.
Yeah, that could be all it is.
Stylistically a little similar, I guess.
Roger Rabbit was 88, so it was 2 years before. But yeah, I think stylistically that's what it is. It's kind of like a dark world, very human adult world, but with like, zany colors and comic book affect to it.
Yeah.
So I owe you a joke. My wife shouted at me, "You're always acting like a detective. I want to split up." Eyes growing wide, I replied, "Great idea. We can cover more ground that way."
Well played.
Stupid. It's so dumb. Yeah, I just absolutely love this story, and it's so bizarre, and it's happening right now. And so I won't be surprised if when Dick Tracy or when Warren Beatty dies, if they do one more, either they've got it in the can or they prop up his corpse.
I know he wants to.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear that he's holding on to the rights out of some other like petty reason.
It's spite, yeah.
But he also like has genuinely been trying to get the sequel done for years. I mean, I don't know, 2023, I don't know how active that still is, but it's not.
It can't be.
It's not. He's like 86. The first one. If I remember, it kind of bombed. Like it didn't blow up the box office. That's why they didn't do another one.
Right.
And he's like, well, no, like this one, you got to establish the world. Yeah. He's trying to make like the Empire Strikes Back of Dick Tracy. He wants that part 2 that like really cements it as a franchise.
Right. Yeah. I really couldn't get a good grasp as to how well it did. No one talks about it these days, which is crazy because you look at the cast. It should have been huge. And it wasn't small. I think it was the 9th grossing film that year. But it wasn't. It didn't
like
blow up.
My favorite film, Buckaroo Banzai, which lost like almost its entire budget. I think it just underperformed.
Yeah, it underperformed. It made money, but it underperformed. Right. Yeah. So you have your special is out now. Your new one.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
As of the time of this recording, it's been out for a month.
1 month. And how's it doing?
1 month. Good enough that I don't feel like it is a failure, but there will obviously never be enough views or attention. But I think it's at like 43,000 views. I'm like, that's pretty good for a month. I mean, TikTok has ruined my ability to understand what good numbers are on things.
Right.
I did a TikTok last week where I recited the opening for the A-Team, and it's at like 500,000 views.
Isn't that
why?
It's
why
crazy. I know. I've had the same experience with TikTok. I recited the monorail narration, and it was like 500,000 overnight. Whereas like I'll spend a lot of time working on what I think is the best magic trick for a camera, for a single, iPhone shot, and it won't do. It'll, 400 views.
If the Facebook algorithm is, anything to base your career off of, what you got to do is explain the most obvious magic tricks in the world.
Yeah.
And have just somebody act cartoonishly surprised.
Yeah.
Because that is like every third video Facebook tries to show me.
I know.
Is just two people wordlessly doing magic at each other, but like it's the most obvious stuff you can imagine.
Yeah. And the people that are making those, they know that they're bad. They know that they're bad.
They
that
must.
they're bad video,
Yeah.
but they also know that all of the comments that say this is horrible, like this was obvious, this is stupid, I already knew this. Those are what are pumping the views because they're heating it up with engagement. So it's gonna do well that way. So yeah, man. What's the
it's
special?
like when people do mistakes on purpose in videos.
Mm-hmm. Which I admit
Or
I've done misspellings.
Like
yeah.
But
Like if TikTok and Instagram Reels will do captions, like you can put in captions. And sometimes if it gets the caption wrong and it's something funny, I'll leave it because that's more fun and it gives something people to talk about. Tell me what's the name of your special?
It is Glen Tickle Against the World Crime League,
Okay.
which is the title of the never produced sequel for Buckaroo Banzai again across the eighth dimension. Because it was a joke in the credits. Or it wasn't a joke. They meant it. They really thought they had a franchise on their hands. But in the credits of that movie, it says, watch for Buckaroo Banzai's next adventure, Buckaroo Banzai Against the World Crime League. But it lost, I think, $16 million of its $17 million budget.
Yeah.
So they never got around to that one. They put it out as a novel during the pandemic, if anybody's interested. It's not good, but so when I did the credits for my special Good Grief, it was like around the time that I first found this movie, and I was like, oh, I like that. I'll do that as a joke in the credits. I'll put watch for Glen Tickle's next adventure, Glen Tickle Against the World Crime League. And then when I was making the new special, it's like, well, I don't have a better title, so I'll just stick with it.
Fantastic. And where can people see it?
It is on my YouTube channel. If you just go to glentickle.com, there's a link right there, and it's got all my social media stuff and things as well.
Awesome.
But yeah, it is. We filmed it the same venue where I recorded my first album so many years ago in beautiful Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, a place I do not live, but people think that I do because I do stuff like comedy specials there all the time.
I've been there. There's is there a casino there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there. I think I've stayed.
Formerly Sands, currently Wind Creek, I want to say.
Yeah, I've done a show somewhere around there. Question 2. For this question, we're playing for a project you've been putting off. So if you get this wrong, whatever project around the house or maybe work related, whatever you want, you've got to get it done if you get this wrong. So
should get this wrong on purpose because I got so much stuff I gotta get done.
And I've got a project that I want to do today. Like I said, I'm sick. I've been under the weather for a few days, but there's a table that last year I had a Lego phase. I got into a Lego phase last year.
I feel one of those coming on.
Oh my gosh, it's an expensive phase to get into.
Yeah,
but it all started because my wife got me the Home Alone house for Christmas,
nice.
And then she got me the lighting kit for it, which got me like twice as much into it because that makes Legos so much more fun. It's like once you do the build to put in the lighting, it's so cool. Anyway, I have them all displayed. Like I have like all my Lego stuff displayed on this table, and I'm moving it to a new spot because while I am an adult child, I don't want visitors to our home to know that. So it's got to move to a less obvious spot. Okay.
I honestly would have guessed the opposite. I thought I would have assumed you were moving it to a place of higher prominence
to get more accolades for my Lego building abilities. No, it's embarrassing. I mean, it's literally in the main hallway on this little table we have, which was fine around Christmas because a couple of the things were Christmas related. Now it's just not cool anymore. Right. But it's almost Christmas again, so.
Yeah, just leave it out a couple weeks and you're golden.
Things move slowly in the Kent house. In 1931, the Dick Tracy comic strip premiered in which one of these newspapers? A, the Detroit Mirror, B, the New York World, or C, the London Evening Standard?
Ooh, I don't know this one.
So that's Detroit, New York, or London. And this was the original Chester Gould version.
I feel like not London. New York feels too obvious, so I'm going to say Detroit.
The answer is Detroit. You, my friend, are 2 for 2. Detroit is the one.
I think I've talked about this every time. I so overthink how good I do at stuff like this. Like I really want to get the right answer in a way that I don't think is healthy.
And it really doesn't matter is the fun part. Like, none of this is all made up. So when we get done with recording this, I will move my Legos to the other table, which is up. It's
I'm
like
going
a
to keep
dresser upstairs.
procrastinating from finishing the extended cut of the special, a thing that I
Nice.
really got to
like
get done.
outtakes and stuff.
There's just stuff I trimmed for time to get it under an hour.
Yeah.
For the regular one, but I know people, because the whole plan was to just put it on YouTube, but I know people are like, well, no, I want to buy it and like support you.
Yeah.
So I don't want to just sell them a thing they already can watch for free. But if I put 10 more minutes in, then it's,
Let me
then
pick
I
your
don't
brain
feel guilty.
on something as a comedian where it's not a visual medium, but you have a video project that you have for sale. If you want to sell that at shows, like at the back of the room, how do you do that now? Because people aren't buying DVDs anymore.
It's not DVDs, as evidenced by the huge box of Good Grief DVDs that I have, or the several boxes of the movie I made in college on DVD in my attic. So I've given up on DVDs as a medium. People will buy CDs, and I feel like what I've done for my first special was, or not special, album was like, if you buy the CD, there's a link where you can download the digital version, because people don't want to like rip it and put it on their device or whatever. It's like, just go to this site, you can download it.
Yeah.
But now it's irrelevant because you can just stream it anyway. So I will have CDs of the special, of the extended cut, and then if you buy that at a show, it'll have a link where you can download.
Yeah. Like the way I think about it is, people on a cruise ship, they want to support you and they'll buy whatever you have just to support you. Like, so they'll buy a video and then they'll never watch it. It'll stay wrapped in the plastic forever.
That's how I feel about CDs.
Yeah.
People will buy it to support me, but they're not taking the physical CD out and putting it in a player.
Yeah.
They're just, oh, I like that guy, he's funny, I'll buy his thing, and then they'll play it on Apple Music.
Yeah, exactly. They'll go find it on like Spotify or whatever. That's really interesting, because I've been thinking about, if I were to sell a video, is a QR code enough to get people to scan this and then buy it on their phone? Is a download card the way to go, where you sell a download card or the thumb drive, or, like there's a lot of ways to get people digital media.
Yeah, I have trading cards that I made.
Oh, you do have trading cards.
QR codes on them.
Yeah.
And that I thought was such a good idea.
Yeah, I think so too.
At merch tables, I spend just so much time explaining what trading cards are to people. And it's like, these are not a new idea. These have been around since the dawn of printing, basically. Like, I'm like, it's baseball cards, but all of the stuff is me. Like, it is, like, just
people are still buying
pictures of me on stage, or like art about bits that I've done.
Like, I see people on TikTok doing like TikTok lives where their whole TikTok live is just them opening trading cards. Yeah. So it's still relevant. Like, people still know what that is. Or like,
I thought they would.
Pokemon Go cards.
Maybe
and
it's just they don't understand why
you have
I would have trading cards of just me.
Yeah.
Which is, granted, I mean, it's one of the more narcissistic things I've done.
I love the idea. I think it's great.
Life. I really thought it was I thought these would be flying off the shelf. But it is, like I said, it's a lot of me just trying to explain to people what they are, or they try to take them for free.
Yeah.
CDs, they're like, well, no, I obviously have to pay money for that, but like this, I'm just going to grab one of these on the way.
Maybe the trading card is free, and the QR code on the card brings them to, a download spot where they can pay. Then they're not gonna do that, right? Like, they're gonna they use the QR code when they get home, and then they don't buy it.
The whole reason I wanted to put a special on YouTube was just like, I can send my mom a link to YouTube, and she can just watch it. She doesn't have to sign up for anything or download something. It just works. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer for your question, I guess, is the short version.
Yeah.
You can try doing thumb drives, I guess, but then people are just going to think you're trying to hack their mainframe.
I would really love to offer some physical product that was a download, but it's kind of ruined now. Let's move on. Question 3. For this question, we're going to play for a sticker, as we always do. The regular, 3-inch square, the internet says it's true sticker. If you join Patreon, which is patreon.com/Michael Kent, you can not only get one of these stickers for you in the mail as part of your membership, but you get to see Glen Tickle's nails, sparkly eyes, necklace, whatever else he's got going on.
Yeah. I look great right now.
There's nothing.
You're missing out if you're experiencing this audio only.
They didn't do your hair. They didn't do anything to your hair, which
No,
Which,
it is just its regular unkempt mess.
Yeah. Okay. Macaulay Culkin was offered the role of the kid in Dick Tracy, but turned it down. Which one of these was the reason that he turned it down? A, his parents felt the script was too racy. B, he didn't get along with Warren Beatty. Or C, he made Home Alone instead.
Ooh, it's not a particularly racy script. I don't remember what year Home Alone came out, but I feel like it was around that time. I don't know if it's true. I like the idea that he just didn't like Warren Beatty. I hope that's still true. I'm going to say that one, and I hope it's still true. I hope it has been. I hope I hope Macaulay Culkin's trying to get the rights to Dick Tracy, and that's why Warren won't let him go, because they're still mad at each other over some disagreement at craft services or something.
The answer, he made Home Alone instead. So as far as I know, there's no beef between Macaulay and Beatty, but it would be a great beef.
He's probably mad that he didn't do it.
Yeah,
Warren.
possibly. It is interesting to note, however, that Catherine O'Hara, who had a small appearance in Dick Tracy as Texie Garcia, also worked on Home Alone as Kevin McAllister's mother. So apparently, she didn't. Yeah. She was able to double.
Clear,
to double
could have done both.
dose. Yeah, apparently. I don't know how big
Macaulay.
The part of the kid was, nor do I remember that role at all.
I don't remember Catherine O'Hara in it, so I feel like that was pretty small.
Yeah, Texie Garcia.
That's like a, third lead, I want to say.
Oh, really?
Maybe fourth.
I'm gonna.
It's
Google
the kid from Hook. I don't remember his name.
Oh, yeah. Charlie Korsmo. Charlie Korsmo played the kid.
Yeah.
And I remember that now. It's like it's a actual normal looking role.
That's like the kind of B storyline. There's the crime of it all, but then also Dick Tracy has got to take care of this kid.
Yeah, Glenn, you missed that one, so you won't get the internet says it's true sticker. Sorry, but
that's all right. I did send you an image of stickers that I'm having made, because I feel like it's only fair since I didn't get the sticker question right.
Okay. Oh, I like that. I was going to tell you that line, the line that you call out in the sticker, which is "I'm a real boy with feelings." I was going to text you and say that's such a great line.
Thank you.
And it came in the context of the clip that you just posted on your TikTok, which was what was the joke? What joke is that?
Yeah.
Is that in?
NJ.com.
Oh, yeah.
News outlet. They made a list of celebrities, the most famous celebrities from every county in New Jersey. And not only did they not pick me for Warren County, where I live, they picked Jason Voorhees, the murderer from Friday the 13th, like the fictional character, because they shot the movie here, and they're like, that's fine. There's no famous people in that whole county that we need to worry about hurting. And it's like the bit is, I genuinely was like a little insulted, because there's like two people that I went to high school with where it's like, if it was one of those two, like one of them is like a performer I like respect. He's a couple years younger than me. And then the other one is like my friend's ex-girlfriend. And I was like, well, I hope it's not her. But, other than that, if it was like somebody that I didn't know was from here, and it's like, oh, all right. Like, I get that I'm not that famous, but I exist. So
I love it.
I'm trying to start a fight with NJ.com over it.
Well, regardless of the joke, the punchline to that, when you say that line, "I'm a real boy with feelings," just hit me just right. So it was a great choice. So for question 4, we're going to play for doing the dishes. So if this was the chore that you had to do earlier, other than editing, this is
it always is.
Dick Tracy was the 20th highest grossing film for Touchstone Pictures in the U.S. So of all of the Touchstone films, 20th highest
of all time,
all time for Touchstone, which is not awful.
Yeah.
Which one of these was the highest for Touchstone in the U.S.? Was it A, Coyote Ugly, B, Dead Poets Society, or C, Signs?
I can't imagine it's Dead Poets Society. Signs is bad, but I think it's one of those ones where it's like other people think it's good, even though I think it's objectively bad, but I don't know if it would have like blown the doors off of the rest of the Touchstone catalog. Coyote Ugly, I do remember kind of being like in the zeitgeist for a while. So I'm going to say it's that one.
The answer.
People love Maria Bello.
Sorry. It's Signs. So,
is it?
Yeah.
Signs is terrible.
So Coyote Ugly made 60 million domestically. Dead Poets Society did 95 million. Signs did
95 for Dead Poets.
Yeah.
Sad Kids in a Cave get almost $100 million.
Signs.
I love
Dead
Poets Society.
It's a great film, but Signs did 227 million.
That's the I don't know that I've ever seen Coyote Ugly. I'm gonna say Signs is the worst of the three.
You think? I've not seen Coyote Ugly either. I saw Signs once. I don't remember
I saw clips, and
with
it was playing while I worked at a movie theater. So like I would have walked in to like make sure people weren't making out or whatever. Man, Signs. Signs was like I was mad while I watched Signs.
Signs was Signs I See Dead People? Is that Signs? No,
it was the follow up to Sixth Sense. I See
Sixth Sense.
People.
That's right. Yeah,
it's the one where there's aliens and a little girl leaves glasses of water everywhere, and Mel Gibson's dead wife is like giving everybody dumb clues, and it just comes together in like the sloppiest putting together of puzzle pieces for a movie ending I think I've ever seen.
Wasn't it the one where like you just sort of see the alien briefly once walking across a hallway?
Yeah, it's like they're watching news footage and somebody had like a camera running at a birthday party and you see it for like 2 seconds. You see them more at the end.
Oh,
the one kid's got asthma, so he survives the alien attack because they just spray spores up your nose or something, but he couldn't breathe, so he was fine. And then the way to fight the aliens was throw water on them. So good thing that little girl left all that water, even though you've been yelling at her. It was like the most obvious plant and payoff stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, this little girl leaves water everywhere, so they're going to use water to fight the aliens. Oh, the kid has asthma. All right, so something about his asthma is going to be why he survives.
Yeah.
Oh, they keep saying swing away to Joaquin Phoenix, so he's going to hit him with a bat. Like, it's so just paint by numbers, but it's all like the dumbest things.
Yeah.
It's like if any of those things were actually interesting on their own, it would have been great. So sorry if M. Night Shyamalan's a listener, but I don't like that movie. Sixth Sense is good once, at least, you know?
Sure. I think like the fact that I wasn't able to remember that Signs was different than Sixth Sense tells you about everything you need to know. Having I saw each one
until
once.
You know the twist, and then it's
no one's
maybe
gonna
watch it a second time and
just
you're
to see if
oh,
you saw the
that's
things.
When I should have figured it out, you know.
I did that with Haunting of Hill House, that series.
Okay,
it had a ton of little Easter eggs that were fun for a second viewing. So you could go through the second viewing, find all the little, references. So. All right. So you're 2 for 4 so far, and this is the
My
final
worst performance on this podcast.
Is that right? This one actually. So you've got to do the dishes. Actually, so that's going to happen.
Do that anyway.
My wife did the dishes this morning, so I was fine either way on that one because there were no dishes to do. This question is for all the marbles. If you get it right, you're welcome back on the podcast anytime. If you get it wrong, no more. Banned for life. No soup for you. What was the best comic book movie?
Great question. One I have like genuine strong feelings about. So it's like, God, I don't want to say the wrong one because there are ones that are good that I really like.
Only one can be the best.
I'm gonna say it's The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, which is it's not based on a comic book, but in the world of the movie, Buckaroo is like a comic book action hero.
Okay.
And then also Marvel did publish a comic book adaptation of the film.
Yeah.
And there have been comic book sequels over the years. Since they couldn't get another movie made, they put out a couple comics. So I'm going to say it's The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
I never realized all of the parallels between Buckaroo Banzai and Dick Tracy. But in that way, they are very similar in that, there's never been a follow-up sequel. And
the rights are a little unclear. That's why we don't know who we even have to get an okay from to do another one. Kevin Smith was attached to do like a TV series of it years ago.
Really?
And then he ended up walking away because they're like, yeah, we don't actually know who.
Yeah, so it could be a huge waste of money.
This.
Can
so
I
he's
be
like,
honest?
We'll figure it out.
I've never seen this film.
Most people haven't.
After every time you're on, I want to go and watch it, and then I forget. So I need to make a note to watch it.
Since the special came out, a lot of people have been watching it and like reporting back to me, and almost all of them are like, "Why do you like this?"
So many of my favorite movie choices would be the same because they're like nostalgia picks. Things
I found this one 5 years ago. It's not even
it's
that.
not nostalgia.
Yeah.
For me, the one that people say, what is that? Is Time Bandits, the Terry Gilliam 80s movie with little people
I think
that
I watched
travel
that for the first time around the same time I would watch Lucky Bombs Zephyr.
It's another like cult classic in my opinion. It's a great
Pretty
movie,
fun,
but
if I remember correctly.
My brother and I go back and forth. He says it doesn't hold up. Which I understand, because at the end they didn't have an ending, so they just blew up the parents at the end because that was
sometimes you gotta blow up the parents.
That's just how it ends. My gosh. One more time, Glenn, you went 3 for 5. You're welcome back on the show anytime, and I want people to go watch Glen Tickle Against the World Crime League. Did I say it right?
That you nailed it. You might be the first one to get it correct.
It's a
bad title. I
Against the World Crime League, and you can see that on YouTube. Just search for Glen Tickle. It's Glenn with one N. And if nothing else, follow him on the socials because he's constantly putting out great stuff. Thanks so much for joining me today, man.
Thank you for having me again, friend.
That's all for this week. Thank you so much to Glen Tickle for being my guest, and thanks to you for listening. Here's the voice of a kid who will play Dick Tracy after Warren Beatty dies.
Thank you for listening to The Internet Says It's True. To listen to episodes ad-free and a week early, support us on Patreon. You can do that at patreon.com/Michael Kent. If you learned something just now that you didn't already know, go to the Apple Podcast app and leave us a review with 5 stars and a few words. That helps us a ton, because that's how the algorithm works. I don't know what an algorithm is, but just do it! See you next week for a brand new episode of The Internet Says It's True!
The Internet Says It's True would like to thank the Patreon subscribers whose monthly contributions help to make this show possible. Sean Brown, Joshua Endress, Dallas Ray, Bryce Swanson, Eugene Anderson, Jim and Joanne Martin, Mitch and Andrew Joseph Kemplin, and the show's official emperor, Kick Track. The show is written and produced by me, Michael Kent. The theme song is by Finite Music Forge, and all audio clips in this episode are used for education and commentary and used under Fair Use Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107. You can listen to past episodes by searching for The Internet Says It's True wherever you get your podcasts, and you can see bonus content at patreon.com/Michael Kent.